Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Defenders Live. I'm your host, Laura Thorson. Dr. DeeAnn Regaisis has spent more than 20 years serving in Christian, private, public, K-12, college, and university education as a teacher, professor, mentor, and educational leader. Her research and her work have focused heavily on the growing crisis of cyberbullying and the emotional, mental, and spiritual impact the digital world is having on young people today. She is the founder and executive director of +3 for Cyber Safety, a nonprofit organization bringing together experts in education, counseling, law enforcement, cybersecurity, and community services to help equip schools and communities with practical resources and continuing education to help youth overcome cyberbullying and advance safer schools. Today, we're talking about what young people are actually experiencing online, behind closed doors and screens, why so many suffer in silence, what adults are still missing, and how we can better equip the next generation to navigate the digital world with truth, resilience, discernment, and hope. If you don't want to miss another episode, head to defenders-live.com and become a free subscriber. That way, every new episode gets delivered straight to your inbox. And if you're looking for top-tier firearms and self-defense training, go to defenders-usa.com and check the calendar to see what's coming to your area this year. Let's welcome Dr. DeeAnn Regaisis onto the show. Did I get it right, DeeAnn?
You did, Laura. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. It's great to be here with your audience, and I'm so grateful for all that you do to continue to inform our communities.
Yeah. So there might be some people wondering why I'm having you on Defenders Live, and if anybody's been following me on my journey for long enough, it would be obvious. But the mission behind Defenders Live is not just a two-way self-defense related show. The self-defense component of it really goes deeper than just physical safety, for me anyway. I want to be able to equip myself and my kids to defend themselves in ways that are, we call it the full armor of God, right? In ways that are spiritual, in ways that we can equip ourselves emotionally to be more resilient in the world. And so that kind of defense is a different kind of defense than what people normally think, but it's still just as important, I think.
Yes, it truly is. And, years ago when we were getting started with +3 for cyber safety, we always wanted to establish everything that we do from the beginning throughout all of our community service programs and opportunities to be grounded on Ephesians 6:10-18, which is all about putting on that full armor of God. And so we want to equip schools and communities in a way that such is impactful to students so that they can wear this invisible armor.
Yeah.
And what does it mean to wear invisible armor? For example, to put on your shoes of peace, to wear your helmet of salvation, to carry your sword of the Spirit, to put on that belt of truth, to make sure you have that breastplate of righteousness tightly around your body, and to make sure you're constantly mindful of all the elements of the armor of God in this digital world.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. When I think of the digital world and social media and phones and all of that, I think my generation, at least, probably just looks at it as a distraction or as entertainment. But I don't think that's what young people are experiencing right now. Being so immersed in the digital social media space, is that kind of their new way of socializing with people rather than face to face? Or I guess I'm asking for clarification on that, because I wonder if adults don't view it the same way kids do.
What we've found in some of our own research, a number of the members on our team, is that the students that are online behind their devices are oftentimes alone. And because they're alone, they are oftentimes making choices that might not be the best choices. And unsupervised, they are left to make decisions that might not be in their best interests. And so they might be in a game, just playing an online game. They could be in their social media. They might just be texting their friends. They could be in these environments where they're being put in a position that will compromise their well-being, not only their mental well-being, but potentially their physical well-being if they get caught up in a cycle of cyberbullying, which can lead into sexting, which can lead into sextortion, which potentially can result in human trafficking. And so we want to catch the students at the early onset of any of these cyberbullying victimizations so that they're equipped to fight their battles while they're alone.
Right. And so many of them, I've heard, keep everything to themselves and don't want to go to an adult. Why is that? And what can we do to help them?
What we've discovered is they don't like to self-report. And they're very fearful that their parents will remove their cell phones, their iPads, and any of their digital technologies. And so they do not commonly self-report to their parents or their teachers or really anyone. They keep a lot of this to themselves, which only increases the potential for self-harm and danger as a result of not telling anyone what is truly going on in each of their lives. So what parents can do is they can set up some parameters to make sure that they're checking in with their kids maybe every 30 minutes or 45 minutes, or just checking in to see, what is it that my child is viewing right now? Is there anything that is causing my child anxiety or bringing about a lack of good decision making or potentially leading them into danger?
A quote wanted to pop into my head, but I don't know the full quote, but it's something about bringing to light what was once in the darkness or something like that. That's what it reminded me of anyway. It's like all of these horrible, evil things happen in the isolation and darkness, maybe not physical darkness, but spiritual darkness. And so that's the first thing that popped in my head when you were talking about that. And to know that kids feel so alone in it is just really sad. Like I'm thinking about my own kids and I'm thinking, would they come to me? Would they say anything? And also they might not at first realize what kind of danger they're in, right? They might not see the red flags that adults would see.
Correct. I think sometimes kids see cyberbullying or conflict online as just a normal piece of their childhood where they just engage in it, and it's just a part of what they do online, where they might be on their games, their online games, and it just seems normal to be a part of these conflicts, not only in playing the game, but also in verbalizing back and forth what they might be saying to all the other players and what the other players might be saying to them. But that's one of the reasons why there are judges online. There are different people who play the role of becoming advocates for young people behind these online game organizations and institutions. And then you also have children who are making decisions on their own behind their social media, and they have the fear of missing out. They have FOMO. And so they want to keep on the conversation of cyberbullying victimization, even if it is happening to them, because they don't want to miss what other kids are saying about them, and they certainly don't want to report it to anyone.
It sounds like it could be a very slippery slope.
Yes, oftentimes it is. There have been over 750,000 young people in the state of Texas that report, young children and teenagers who report their cyberbullying victimizations each year. It's about 750,000. That's a lot of kids in Texas public schools reporting this. And in addition, the gentleman at the Cyberbullying Research Center, Dr. Patchen and Dr. Hinjua, have found that about 33% of young people are reporting cyberbullying victimization within the past 33 days. So this is no small issue. This is a very large issue, which is taking place oftentimes in isolation or while students are alone.
Yeah, I looked on your website, and correct me if I'm wrong, but almost 60% of girls between the ages of 13 and 17 said that they've experienced this, and almost 50% of boys. That's a really large percentage.
Yes, and we're actually seeing some of those numbers start to come a little closer to where boys between 13 and 17 are reporting just a few percentages higher now than girls.
So I'm curious then, because I don't know if I fully understand, so I want to make sure I do. I can see some people watching this of an older generation, perhaps, and look at this as kids just being mean online, right? And think, well, when I was in school, there were conflicts and we just fought it out and it was over or whatever. How is this different? How is this more dangerous? And what does this really mean today?
Patchen found even in the last year that there's been an increase, between 2016 and 2026 from about 17% to about 33% of cyberbullying victimizations. So these youth today are making choices. They're behind their technologies. You have to imagine this. The Surgeon General's report not too long ago shared with the public in America that we are at a crisis stage of young people behind their social media and their digital devices. These young teenagers are typically online between 5 and 6 hours a day, which doesn't seem maybe like a lot to us, but if you consider, they're in school and then they come home and then they're behind their digital devices, that's a lot of time that they can be alone.
Wow. So is the answer getting them off the devices and going out into the real world more, giving them more things to do that are off of the devices? That seems to be a more healthy alternative. Or is it educating them more on the red flags and having a relationship with them so they feel comfortable coming to us as adults? What?
I think it's a combination of both, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think parents and teachers can continue to recommend opportunities and to encourage students to spend more time in other productive activities besides being behind their digital devices. And I think that there's a component towards equipping young people to combat cyberbullying, which is our mission statement, because we really want, our slogan, because we really want students to be equipped to fight their battles. It's really important that when they're alone and they're behind their devices, that they have some strategies, and educators can equip them with these strategies. Matter of fact, Njua and Patchen have also recommended the best way to provide preventative maintenance for kids is to provide education and to increase opportunities through school personnel to be a voice into the next generation.
How much do typical school staff, like let's say at a regular public school, how much education and resources do they typically get on this? And I assume that's part of what you do is to go into these places and help that. But typically, what does that look like?
Well, typically, my understanding is from most private or public schools that educators are receiving anywhere between 2 and 4 hours of continuing education per year on cyberbullying awareness education. We would like to increase that with our continuing education services by providing 2 hours of continuing education in a charitable environment online starting in August of this year. So we are open and eager to hear from private, parochial, and independent schools, which is our primary audience right now, as we're growing into serving our Texas public schools with some additional credentialing. But we are very eager to hear from these local, private, and parochial and independent schools that could really benefit from receiving our continuing education services.
Do you have the same type of thing for moms and dads that can go on your website and find more resources. That's a great way to plug your website too.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. We have some good resources for parents on our website. Many of them have been provided to us through David's Legacy. Many of their resources have been uploaded there with Maureen Moloch and all the work that she has done toward advancing safe schools and cyberbullying awareness education, as well as taking a stand in legislation and moving legislation forward. And we're very eager for parents as well as educators to go to our website.
So the website, for those of you that are listening and not watching, it's +3, and it's the number 3, +3 for cybersafety.org. And it's a really good website. I checked it out while I was waiting on you to figure out your video.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Laura, for going to it. And I would just encourage your audience to continue coming alongside of us and showing us their support, either by participating on one of our teams, our volunteers, possibly in our college volunteering program, maybe encouraging youth of the ages of 18 to 24 to join that. We have an online application for them to sign up on the website under volunteer. And then we also have a donor link that we're encouraging individuals, corporations, businesses, various police or emergency personnel to come alongside of us, as well as we continue to open up our services this coming August. And you can join us on our advisory council, our board of directors, our marketing team. We have lots of opportunities for community service personnel to contribute their expertise.
I think this is a really, really powerful subject that gets easily overlooked and has become a really big part of kids' lives, whether we like it or not at this point. It's just the way that the world is right now. So I appreciate you guys realizing that and taking all the steps necessary to try to help young people today. I'm a little bit curious about you personally, DeeAnn, and your involvement in this particular mission. I'm wondering if there's a story that's involved in how you got involved with this, if you were personally affected by this, or your kids or someone you know.
Well, kind of all of the above.
Really?
I had the opportunity of working at a university that encouraged me to do research in this area and continue to update my research. And we've put together a draft book, as well as we're working with an ebook publisher and an app developer so that we can make our cases live and create them in an environment where they're not only two-dimensional but three-dimensional. So we're working on not only an ebook but also an app that would become, the app would be free and the ebook would be available through the app. And we have found that through our own research, mine particularly was conducted in such a way that I was able to interview parents of victims of cyberbullying. And the stories that they shared with me were so profound and impactful, leading to my greater understanding today that students who are victimized by cyberbullying are twice as likely to involve themselves in self-harm or potential and suicidal events or suicidal behaviors. So, these kinds of things are not just items that we need to pass over. These are really serious issues that young people are dealing with today behind their digital devices. I'm not saying that all time online is bad. I'm just saying that we need to pay more attention. We need to equip students, young people, with the full armor of God, so that when they are behind these digital devices, that they are ready for the battles that they will face.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the strategies that you could give parents or teach, especially parents? I'm being selfishly, I want to know because I'm a parent. What are some of the strategies that you spoke of earlier?
Well, the first one is equipping, your young people in your family and your community, at least your immediate network, whether it's through your church, whether it's through your vacation Bible school, whether it's through your own home, to have these conversations. Yeah. And these conversations are great for table talk asking your kids questions. And we have a lot of these questions for parents and for grandparents on our website. And so they're great table talk starters. And I would encourage folks to start there.
So open communication, having a relationship or establishing one with your children, if you don't already, it sounds like those are important things. And perhaps creating a safe place for them to actually talk to you candidly and know that even if they do, that they're not going to get their devices taken away necessarily from them, that they're not going to be punished for being honest.
Right.
It might be these are just things I'm popping in my head. These are not from your website. These are just things that are popping in my head as I'm thinking about all of these things. And it's just so interesting that that part of the way that I believe the evil works in this world is by isolating people and by telling lies. And so I think as much of the truth as I can get into my kids before they're exposed to all of this, the better, the more armor they will have to see the truth for what it is and the lies for what they are, and know what to believe. And so maybe that will help them not get so wrapped up in it. Perhaps.
And there's a great verse, Ephesians 4:32. Be ye kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, as God in Christ has forgiven you. And so even though young people may be going through cyberbullying themselves, even though they may be seeing their friends becoming victimized, the key element here is to overcome evil with love. And like Jesus told us and told his disciples, it wasn't going to be easy, that we would be hated for our faith, that we would be despised and rejected among men for our faith, but that we would be different from the world by the way that we engage with it. And so one of those ways is to overcome evil with goodness and love.
Yeah. And not be of the world.
This is right. This is right. This is true, and this is just, and this is honorable, and this is pure. And oftentimes these things are not addressed on a daily basis in conversations with young people who are behind their digital devices. So we need to bring in a lot more conversation about the things of God and make some connections for young people between the digital armor and the full armor that is discussed in Ephesians 6:10-18.
One of my friends who I look up to a lot told me that everything starts at the kitchen table. That if you want to change the world, you can start by changing your family at the kitchen table. And I believe in that. I believe that is where everything begins. And so it's so funny to me that you keep talking about table talk. And that is just an intimate relationship that you have with your family and the things that you talk about. What are you talking about at the kitchen table, and are they things that matter? And it doesn't have to be this big scary conversation. It can just be a curious conversation with your kids and asking them questions in an open way, in a loving way, in a curious way. And you never know, that where that could lead. It'll almost always lead to great things and learning more about their world and their environment and how they see things. That's what I've discovered.
Yes, and even in the cases, the stories that I was able to generate from the research that I've conducted firsthand is that parents were willing to share that they oftentimes missed these conversational moments, that their days got so busy and so hustled that they didn't have these conversations with their kids until something awful happened or until something really dreadful was beginning to unfold. Yeah. And so to just continue to increase those conversations, among your children and youth today are very important. For school personnel to be setting aside time in their school schedules to have digital citizenship as a focus of the curriculum. These are really integral pieces today. We don't have time to overlook this anymore.
Yeah, it's in our face. It's everywhere.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
especially
It
with
really is.
AI integrating. Do you have any comments about AI integrating into all of this as well?
We actually have a newsletter that comes out quarterly, and one of our most recent newsletters, our first quarter newsletter of this year, is posted on our website for your audience. If you'd like to scroll through it and take a look, there's an article in there on the impacts of AI and cyberbullying today.
Are there any other dangers online that people generally are unaware or unprepared for, other than people just being mean? Like, what is the spectrum of this?
There's another good article that's being contributed right now to our second quarter newsletter that's coming out in June, the middle to end of June here now. And it's all about gaming and the impacts of cyberbullying in gaming platforms. I strongly recommend that if your audience hasn't subscribed to our newsletter, that you would encourage them to subscribe, because the article that is in there this month on cyberbullying that typically happens through gaming platforms is incredibly informative and very, very instrumental at providing some tips. So I would just encourage your audience to go into that newsletter.
Yeah, that's another thing that's pretty much in our face at this point that we cannot ignore any longer.
That's right, because kids are spending a lot of times on games.
Yeah, definitely. Probably more than I even realize. I mean, at large, the segment of the population of children that are playing games on a regular basis is probably much larger than. It's just so mind-blowing to me though, DeeAnn, because like I'm a kid of the 80s and 90s, and so like when I think of games, I think of like Super Mario Brothers and Nintendo and stuff. It doesn't like register, the way that it does for kids now.
Pac-Man and Frogger and all those games that we had that just seemed so harmless at that time.
Right. It was just such a different world back then. And I feel like I just woke up one day and I was like, wait, how did that much time just pass by? I just don't know. I don't know how that happened, but we're in a different world now than we were back then. I truly think we are. And a more dangerous world. There's still a lot of good in it though. And
amen.
We have to keep fighting the good fight. So, well,
yes, Yes, we do.
Is there anything else that you would like to talk about that I did not so far?
I would say just to encourage your audience as well to, if you're a business entity again, or corporation or family foundation, and you would like to join us on mission to build collective knowledge for effective solutions to cyberbullying with experts from the fields of education, counseling, law enforcement, and cybersecurity. Keep in mind that many of these people are contributing their time pro bono to providing charitable as well as lower cost continuing education services to our schools and communities, that we really need an army of community involvement to carry us forward. And so we would just encourage you to take a look at our sponsorship package opportunities as well as our advertising packages.
All right. Well, you're doing good work, DeeAnn. Thank you for your time with me today.
You're welcome. And thank you to your audience and for you, Laura, and continue to carry the torch forward to bring schools to an opportunity level of being cyber safe for the